So I had a question about the Hare Krishna mantra.
Basically, when we obviously chanting, we just started. So want to ask just about pronunciation. We had just a bit of a discussion about with the Ram. Should we say Ram or Rama?
Well, in my opinion, the full Sanskrit pronunciation is Rama. The Bengali pronunciation may be Ram. In Bengali and Hindi also, the M in itself constitutes that akshara. So when you say Ram, the A part of the Ma is understood. So if you say Hare Ram, it's not altogether wrong. You know, in terms of that language. But like, you know, I've heard some statement coming from somewhere, someone, where that Ra, you know, gets you out of Maya, and Ma, you know, shuts the door so that you don't go back into Maya, or Maya doesn't again, you know, enter. But the M, you're not just saying Hare Ra, you're saying Hare Ra. Understood. So Ram is also complete, but it may not be as complete as Rama. I prefer to say Hare Rama, although sometimes, depending on the tune that I'm singing, sometimes Ram kind of like corresponds to the configuration of the tune better. But, you know, I think the preferred thing is Hare Rama. And that's the original Sanskrit. And the Ma is pronounced in Sanskrit. In the other languages, the Ma may not be pronounced. Hindi or,
So, you know, you say, because you do hear a lot, and to be honest, there's some other tunes that we do that are more Bengali orientated. Even myself, I'm a victim of going Ramu.
Ramu?
Ramu means Rama.
Ramo.
Some, not all
Ramo.
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 Yeah.
So, Ramo.
Yeah, well that's, you know, in Bengali they may do like that. You know, they can pronounce it's just like they say in Oriya, they say Hare Krishna. Krishna. And here in Braj and other local village areas, they'll say Hare Krishna, 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 or Hare Krishna, Krishna. It's not even Krishna. No, it's Krishna. But Krishna is also is the same name. Krishna. You can't criticize them saying that they are not pronouncing.
Correct.
You know.
They've just turned Krishna into Russian. Krishna.
Krishna. Krishna. Even the Kishan. Kishan Lal means Krishna. Kishan.
Sometimes you hear Hare Krishna.
Yeah, well, you know, that, you know, I wouldn't personally advocate imitating other people's speech defects. I mean, for what purpose? So we can be cooler than thou? Because we have, a certain speech defect, that kind of characterizes us as belonging to a certain ethnic group or something. The name is there in Sanskrit, Hare. Hare Krishna. Krishna. Krishna, 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 and in Chinese, Kalisina, Kalisina, because they can't pronounce the R. So are we going to criticize them that they're not pronouncing God's name, and therefore they won't get the benefit of calling on the name of God? The real question is, who are you denoting by that name? In one language is God, in other language is Bhagavan, in the other language is Dios. Different names for, the one substance. So, it doesn't mean that the substance involved changes just because the name is different in some way or another. Although, in the Sanskrit language and in Brajbasa language, it's the name may be different than in Sanskrit language. The pronunciation may be different. So, but the person is the same. And when we say that the name is absolute, when we say that the name is absolute, and therefore the name is non-different from the person, so when I say Krishna, is the person that name denotes going to have a different root than if I say Krishna in terms of the Orient inflection? When I say Krishna, is it that somehow or other Krishna's going to be having a rounder mouth that's going ooh? And, instead of, Krish, Krishna will, if I say Krishna, then Krishna's form of Krishna is going to have a I appearance, and when I say Krishna, the form of Krishna is going to have a U appearance on it, because Krishna and Krishna somehow or other change the form of the personality of Godhead that name is denoting. So when the Chinese say Kalisina, does that mean that, Kalisina, that's 4 syllables. Kalisina. So does that mean Krishna's no longer Tribhanga? He becomes 4-bunga? Charbanga? Kalisina. He puts a little extra curve, Added attraction.
I wanted to question about Kirtan itself. How do you come up with? Is it bona fide, if you like, to just make up your own tunes, or how do you come up with tunes, and how? Can you just you hear a pop song or something, and then you kind of dovetail it to add the Hare Krishna mantra?
That's been done before. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Yellow Submarine. I mean, there are devotees who do like that. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Or Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
I love to see hear you do that kirtan. You know?
Christmas stuff. Enjoyed by Christmas.
I did it one time here in the temple on Christmas Day.
Oh, that would be
Christmas Day, wow.
That style going on. Yeah.
But you know.
How do you come up with kirtan?
Well, the thing is that honestly speaking, since I've come to India more or less to embrace, or at least to learn the culture here, and to learn. I mean, some people might label it as another brand of ethnicity, but there's things about this particular ethnicity, if that's what it is, which I appreciate perhaps more than the sex, drug, and rock and roll culture that I grew up in. And even if we want to say that, you know, Brahms or Beethoven, or that these were more sattvic, I say probably more rajasic, you know, a little less tamasic. You know, they were creative, so they may be in a higher mode, but as far as the tune is concerned, I don't see them as in of themselves being beyond the influence of the modes of material nature. You know, it might be better to be more sattvic, but Krishna doesn't advocate sattvic bhojan as such. In the Gita, he describes what is bhojan in the mode of ignorance, bhojan in the mode of passion, bhojan in the mode of sattva gun. But and just like he describes sacrifice in the three modes of material nature, but he doesn't say to Arjuna that he should, you know, get himself involved in one of the modes of material nature. He advocates to Arjuna, you know, Triguna, Vishaya Veda, Nistrigunya of Arjuna. He says, rise above the influence of the modes of material nature, you know, and be freed from anxiety for gain and safety, etc. Ultimately, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita is advocating that you take remnants of foodstuff which is offered in sacrifice, you know, and which more or less becomes transcendental to the modes of material nature because of Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavir, Brahmagno, Brahmanahutam. Yeah. It becomes, you know, one with Brahman on the spiritual platform. In other words, it becomes Krishnized. And in that way, you know. So similarly, you can say that there's different ways of looking at it. You can say that whatever, you know, is offered to Krishna, because it's offered to Krishna, if Krishna accepts it, you know, depending on the sincerity of the offering, and depending on whether he deems the circumstances to be meriting the consideration of a special causeless mercy on anyone, then he may accept, you know, your hardcore rock and roll Hare Krishna tune, you know, and then it becomes, you know, transcendental to the three modes of material nature. In a similar way that, you know, you can say that Arjuna, when he was fighting in the Battle of Kurukshetra, he wasn't exhibiting sattvic qualities of a Brahmin in the sense that, you know, yajan, patan, dan, pratigraha, samo, dhamma, tapat. You know, in certain respects you can say that he was beyond that because, and therefore inclusive of that, in that, as Vishwanath Chakravarti, you know, says that the arrows are the ghee offered in the fire of the sacrifice of the fight, you know, or whatever, however he put it, like that. and Arjuna is the Brahmin, priest offering the oblations into the fire, and the sacrifice of fighting for the cause of Krishna. So in that sense, because Arjuna was acting under the auspices of Krishna for the purpose of satisfying Krishna without any consideration of personal happiness and distress in the matter, that puts him on another level certainly than what could be considered as sattvic karma, whether it's sakama sattvic karma yoga, or whether it's naiskama or nishkama sattvic karma yoga. Arjuna wasn't acting as a karma yogi, although there was so much discussion about so many different topics of progressive transcendental realization or programming for gradual upgrading of a living entity. So many things were discussed in the Gita, but Krishna's ultimate purpose was to show the highest principle, the highest substance, in contrast to the various other categorical topics of discussion.